Hello, my name is Lukas Oldenburg and I will show you how to get started with the Adobe Analytics Component Manager for Google Sheets by Datacroft. You will need system administrator rights in your Experience Cloud and about 15 to 30 minutes. So first of all, I assume you have installed our Google Sheets add-on and have opened any Google Sheet of yours, ideally a new empty document. Now go to Extensions, Adobe Analytics Component Manager, and then click Setup. And this will first import all the necessary tabs. You'll see a lot of tabs popping up and getting moved, etc. It will take a while, and I'll stop this video and come back when it's done. Now we're done. You see on the bottom right it says all done, finished recreating the sheet. After reviewing the terms and conditions as well as our data protection info, we can close this overlay. Next, go to console.adobe.io. This will take you to the developer console, and you can now click on Create New Project. Now I've created this project. The first thing is you'll give it a proper name like Component Manager, Adobe Analytics, something like that. Then I click on Add API. Select Adobe Analytics and then Next. Now choose OAuth Server to Server. Next. And then assign any product profile that makes sense for your organization. You now get to the success page and you should have access now to your OAuth server-to-server credential. So if you now created a credential, click on it and click on Retrieve Client Secret to get the client secret. We'll need most of these credentials later on, but for now just copy the technical account email, not the technical account ID. This looks like an email, but it's something different. Technical account email, copy that to your clipboard and go to the Adobe Admin Console. In the Admin Console, click on Products on the top so you get to your product overview, and then click on your Adobe Analytics. Now click on Admins and Add Admin. Now you paste the email address that you've just copied from the technical account email. And this might vary over time, but at the moment you have to click on this little arrow to see what addresses you can add. The UI seems to be a bit broken, but just click on the first one that comes up because there shouldn't be a second one, and then click Save. So that's it for the user setup. You've now given this new credential access to Adobe Analytics as an admin, which is of course needed to run the component manager properly. You can now go back to the Google Sheet to finish the Component Manager setup. For this step, I recommend splitting the screen so you can see your credentials on one side and your Component Manager on the left side. And if you are not yet there, go to the Config tab. This is where I'm at right now. Let's start the setup function again. We now have to confirm that we actually read the terms and conditions that we saw previously. And we also need to confirm that we have created the API credentials. This is what we just did. And now we can start. So it first starts with the scope. So copy the scopes and just paste them. Then click OK. Next up, client ID. Take the client ID, paste it. Then the client secret. And finally, the org ID. And now you can choose to have the component manager import the names and email addresses of your Adobe users. That will, for example, show you the owners of workspaces or the owners of calculated metrics and segments. Depending on what your company allows privacy-wise, click yes or no. The base report suite ID, we can leave this open for now. Just click OK. And you'll see this window now that the initialization has started. This will take a little bit. We can go to the right part of the config window and look on the bottom. You're seeing the setup status, and it now says success, and you also get a message here that the Component Manager account and Adobe Analytics connection were successfully initialized. You can also now see part of your credentials here, the client ID, the scopes, and the org ID. We don't store the secret in the sheet because that would give anybody with access to the sheet the possibility to use your Adobe API. Here on the bottom, you also see your contract info. Let's make this a little bit bigger. You'll see the contract start, the end date, and whether you're on a contract trial. So when you become a new Component Manager client, you first get a trial contract for 14 days, which gives you full access to all Component Manager features. And after that, it becomes the free version of the Component Manager. And if you want to use the Component Manager for real, contact us, go to our website, datacraft.de, and then click on Component Manager. You can either use the contact form or just call us or write us an email. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Now, finally, we'll have to set up the base report suite ID, and for that we'll import the first data from Adobe Analytics into our Component Manager. We'll go to Report Suites and we'll just say Refresh Report Suites, and this will just refresh the list of report suites in the Report Suites tab. We'll click Yes, and as with all Component Manager functions, you'll have a status bar on each tab, and in the status bar you see what's happening. That's where the server writes its information into. So the report suite list was updated. We see the report suite list here now, and the first column is the report suite ID. And now we just select the report suite ID that we want to use as the base report suite. It usually is the report suite ID where most of your Adobe Analytics stuff is going on. So your main report suites. I'll paste it here. And if we go back to the Datacraft getting started page, you also see some info on what is the base report suite ID. And feel free to read this, but basically it means that when we import EVARs, props, and success events, the Component Manager has to know from which report suite it should take those EVARs, props, and success events. Because, I mean, segments, calculated metrics, and date ranges, they are report suite independent. You can use any segment in any report suite in your Adobe Analytics account, but EVARs, props, and success events are of course dependent on a particular report suite, and that's basically what this report suite, this base report suite ID does. So that's it, we're done. So what you can do now, you can use a function that populates the most important tabs with data. So go to AA Component Manager, Other, then click Populate All Tabs, and this will then populate a couple of tabs, actually not all, but most of them, with data. And since this is the first time you're going to populate some of those tabs, it will take a long time. If you have a large account, it can take an hour. So click OK and then do something else for a while. Don't disturb it. So the tabs have populated. The last one is the component usage tab. And we now see workspaces. We see all the components, calculated metric segments, date ranges, EVARs, props, etc. We also have account usage stats and report suites. And we can now start using the Component Manager. Now check out the other tutorials under main functions, which explains all the functionality of the Component Manager in depth with videos, so you'll have no trouble getting started. So I hope you have fun with the Datacraft Component Manager, and it will make your life with Adobe Analytics much more efficient. You'll save a lot of time and enable your users to have a much cleaner, much tidier, and much more user-friendly Adobe Analytics experience. Thank you very much.